you go. Got the buck antler starter. I'm sure Gramps made this.
I'm sure he made that. It's all filed for the right size and everything.
He's awesome.
Whittled.
All right, guys.
$20.
One day,
Same tree.
same tree.
Oh my God. I'm so
Woo!
Holy shit! Get a shot of these.
2 farms this year. Number 1 is done.
Did you say bye, Kevin?
I did. I already did. Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Kevin. Bye, Kevin.
Smoked it, buddy. Look at that. You destroyed it.
Joey takes
The shop is closing up.
Make sure he takes all his right antlers. All right, guys. Welcome to the Deer Shop Podcast, episode 24. Today we are located Deer Shop North. Once again, it's cold out, so we're not in the shop itself. But I got Isaac here, and we're joined by one of the fan favorites, Uncle Jay, over here.
Thanks for having me.
Today
It's
we're going to be
always fun.
talking. Yeah, this is how many times you been on now? Probably
A couple times.
This is 3 or 4.
One of them
3 or
still
4.
unaired.
Yeah, I think this is the third, fourth altogether. You've aired
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, 2 have been aired.
Yeah.
This is number 4. We got another one we're going to record. We should probably record that one in the next month or two.
Yeah, the past deer or bear hunting trip.
The bear hunting trip one, which we haven't. None of that stuff's been released, but it's coming up very soon, and that'll be a long one.
Yeah, and our bear hunting video from last year is starting to get a little more.
Is it picking up
It's
again?
a little more traction on YouTube.
Literally as soon as deer season's over here in Ohio, I'm gonna start diving into that. I think me and you should kind of tag team that.
Yeah,
You'll be able to come
we
over
have
on your
we have
days
a
off.
lot of
and-
footage.
And we'll use my computer, and then you'll be able to come over on your days off, and you can do some parts. I'll do some parts, and we'll stab away at it for a couple weeks before we won't fly through that one. We'll
Yeah,
spend some
but
time
we'll talk
on it.
about that trip another day.
Yeah, that's for another day. Today, we're actually going to be talking about late season deer hunting. Muzzleloader season is 2 days away here in Ohio. It's January 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So there's snow on the ground. Totally different type of hunting than we've been doing so far this season. So that's what we're going to kind of get into. Jay has been hunting here late season with us for probably, I have written down here, probably like 13 or 14 years now.
That's how it all started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's how I met you guys.
He's kinda-
or the first time in person
Yeah.
that we hooked up. And
You've killed a couple deer here.
Yeah.
At least one or two.
I brought
does.
my dad here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Killed a couple. This is always my time to meat hunt.
Yeah.
You know, I
that's
really enjoy
And it's
it.
a perfect time to meet hunt. We can hang these deer actually.
Yeah, so that's something that I was going to get into, and we can kind of touch on that right now while we're at it, I guess. And there's a huge divide amongst deer hunters on when do you shoot your does. There's some guys that's, we live in an area where some people still don't even shoot does. Like, does are bad, don't shoot them, which is stupid because there's...
Or they just don't eat the meat. They don't want to have to deal with them.
We've actually talked about that. There's the guys that only want to kill a buck, turn it all into jerky. They don't eat ground venison. They don't eat steak. They're just
It
they
ends up
want to
just-
shoot a buck and they want to have some jerky, and that's it. So those guys aren't killing does at all. But there's a big variance on when people shoot doe. Some guys only shoot them early season. Some guys shoot them only during gun season, and then there's people like us who we usually wait. We'll kill 1 or 2 during gun season, but we usually wait till later in the year, and this is when we kind of start stacking them up like cordwood. The fact that we do most of our own butchering, temperature is a big part of that.
Yeah, because we would shoot more early season because that's kind of what they say to do. You
Right,
want to shoot
right,
doe
yep.
before you shoot a buck. But it's so hard to hang these deer when it's 60 degrees at night still.
Yeah, and that's
And
something
finding
we-
the time to skin them and butcher them right away it's a pain.
Yeah, because then I hate putting meat on water. So, I mean, if
Oh,
you shoot one early, you got to put it in a cooler. It's going to get water on it. It washes the flavor out. I mean,
It's nasty.
this time of year, we can shoot a deer, we can skin it, we can hang it for a week, 2 weeks, and leave it.
Yeah, and also you're not managing 640 acres
No,
of
no,
contiguous.
no, no.
You
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. No,
So
right.
The doe management thing
Yeah.
is what it is.
It may help a little, but we do it mostly just for meat.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice. Honestly, it'd be nice to kill 10 does in the next week or two here on the farm, but we're not going to. I mean, we'll be lucky to get 1 or 2 killed, maybe 2 or 3. It's not going to hurt anything to kill that many does. I mean, the spot that I'm hunting right now, there's this field that I'm hunting. I mean, every night it's 6 to 20 does are coming out and feeding, and and that's just one area of the farm. And that's not
Just
the
one
spot.
field.
That's not the spot where everyone else is going to be hunting and seeing their own deer. And like I can see this spot's unique because I can see almost, I could probably see it close to half a mile if I look south.
It's probably all of the half a mile.
Yeah,
Maybe
so I could
3/4.
see half a mile because there's, I don't want to give too much away, but it's a big open area. And I could be watching 20 does out in the field in front of me, and I could look across the field half a mile, and I see 20 more on the other side. And, there's no shortage of deer in the areas we're hunting. So
No, that's never been a problem.
Yeah, and I'm finding like I'm wanting to is as much meat as I have in my freezer. It seems like the more I have, the more I go through.
yes.
Like I just made that batch of jerky, and that was 12 pounds, one batch.
Yeah.
So you don't yield that much when you're doing jerky, but like 12 pounds, you do that 4 times. Well, that's a dough.
Yeah, it's a whole deer.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And that's if you're lucky. You're not getting 50 pounds of ground off a deer all the time.
No, not all the time. Right.
So we're just now finally getting the freezer. We have 2 freezers at the deer shop at Isaac's house. We're just now starting to get to the bottom of some of like the cuts of meat. We have plenty of back straps left, so I think we got like probably 10 packages of back straps,
Which we usually save those for special occasions,
fancy
per
type
se.
cooking. I don't think there's that many roasts down there. I mean, I honestly think there's only like 1 or 2 more roasts.
Because
down
that's
there.
what we use the most. For one, it's the easiest to butcher, so we leave the roast big and whole. Then we cut them into steaks and smoke them.
cut them into steaks, smoke them, marinate them. People love it, and it tastes great.
I do mine different. I just do the same as you guys do all mine myself. I do back straps, tenderloins, everything else grind.
Oh, you don't keep the roast?
No.
So we keep the roast whole, and then we slice them up into steaks like when we have people over, and that's what we eat. And
Yeah,
they come out just as good, sometimes better than the back straps.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
I just end up doing the summer sausage and the jerky and like all the
so
stuff.
you're using a lot of
I'm
grind.
using a lot of grind.
We have, and it's something that we want to start getting into a little bit more, is making our own stuff of that nature. But we have a ton of ground still, so we're good on ground. We're good on ground. We're low on roast. We're halfway good on backstraps. So we need to get some more roast in there, and obviously we always end up with a ground when we kill some deer. But
And we've been going in between grinding our own deer or sending it out to get ground because
Yeah.
sometimes time constraints is easier just to take it to the processor. They don't charge that much to grind a whole deer. I think Luke got his buck done for $60.
yeah,
He ground his whole buck except the backstrap.
and that's what
Got
Nick,
like
that's
80 pounds of
exactly
ground back.
That's literally exactly what Nick does. So when Schlau shoots his deer, he actually saves 1 backstrap. And then the rest all goes to the processor in quarters, and he gets it all ground because his family just destroys it.
Yeah,
They
it all
eat
depends
it as
on-
their ground beef.
On
you know?
time and
It's so
equipment.
versatile.
Yeah.
Like I mean, just
Anything, right.
Yeah, tacos, whatever.
Yeah, and if you get one, so like Luke shot his buck in October. We were getting ready to leave for Indiana. 1 deer. It's easy to just quarter up, take it to a processor. This time of year we might have 5 in the shop at the end of this week after muzzleloader's over and some bow hunting. So like then it saves you some money to get it all done yourself at that point. Get a couple guys together, but
And it's a little bit slower time of year for everybody. After the holidays, it's January.
yeah,
and
there ain't
people aren't doing much
There
besides
ain't nothing going on
And
right now.
I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love like this when you're butchering a deer.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
hanging out,
Yeah, yeah,
drinking
yeah.
a beer,
Yep.
taking 2 extra hours because you're bullshitting the whole time.
Yep.
That's just part of it. The camaraderie, and I just absolutely love doing that.
And hopefully, we might actually be doing that next weekend. If we kill a bunch of deer this week, I checked the temperatures. It doesn't get any warmer than 41 until next weekend. So,
Perfect.
I mean, we're set. We can have these deer hang. We can just
we can all
spend the
get
day
together
doing
and
it.
butcher them next week sometime. I think we can even do a podcast while we're butchering them.
Yeah. So, muzzleloader season is coming. That's kind of the big topic, late season hunting.
Yeah, it's pretty much what we're going over today.
And it's I'm crowbarring this in, but I think it's going to be my girlfriend's first experience hunting.
Yeah.
which is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, so
And your girlfriend was first experience hunting was this year as well, right?
First time like deer hunting in a long time. She grew up hunting with her dad, like
Okay.
bird hunting and
Because
stuff.
you guys
but-
sat a few times this year as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I might take her out on Sunday and try to shoot a doe. Yeah.
So have you killed one with her yet?
No. We just hunted a couple times this year. And that was
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
My wife has never sat with me, and she's never even been home when I've shot a buck. Never
Never.
once.
Really?
Never once. Every buck recovery I've ever had, she's been working. Every single
That's
time.
weird.
All these deer back here
just
on the
goes
wall,
to
she
show how
wasn't around
much
for-
she works and you don't.
Yeah, she was. I know there's guys listening that are chuckling right now because they think I don't work, but I am back to work now.
Well, if that's the case, is she working tonight?
No,
Because you're going in tonight to
I am.
hopefully kill your
Yes.
buck. And
Yeah,
she's
that's
not
the main.
working, so
That's the
she's
main
not gonna
part.
Tell her
kill
to
time.
pick up some OT, man.
Yeah, that's the main part. That's the main part of today's podcast. Actually, is I have a buck that I'm trying to kill before muzzleloader season opens up tonight. He's been killable, according to trail cameras. He's been killable probably 4 times in the last 2 weeks. Kind of random. There's not an incredible pattern to him. There's this large group of does that I was talking about that's using this field, and the field's probably 70 acres, 60, 70 acres.
Yeah, of late cut soybeans.
Yeah, so it was second cutting of soybeans and then like a hay mixture kind of. So right now there's nothing out there but grasses. But there's 20 deer, there's 20 does using this field, and he's still rutting. He is following does, chasing does, just on does still to this day. Ethan saw him. So Ethan hunted Monday or Tuesday. Had an encounter with him. He actually bumped him out of his bed on the way to the stand. He was bedding on the edge of the field, so you can see like into the field. Bumped him out, then he came back following a doe, circled around, didn't offer him a shot. I saw him during the second gun season. I had him at 250, which is not a shot I'm taking with the 450 Bushmaster. Isaac said I should have sent it. I would have missed 100%, so I just didn't shoot.
So this is
It was actually in the last video. So he came out and took a couple bites of food, but he was on doe. He was seeking does. Then he looked around and then right back in, nose to the ground, into the woods. I mean,
yeah.
he
This
was
is
on
this is a
does.
weird deer. Have we got pictures of him or seen him anywhere except for this row of fields, basically?
Since rut, no. So this deer is interesting.
Because it's not the same buck we were chasing in October or November
No, but it is
looks
the buck.
very
It is
similar.
the buck you saw opening day
in the field.
in the field. This same field.
Yeah.
You found a shed in this field. You actually found his shed in this field. You had encounters with him opening day and during early season the year before in this field. Early October, I was getting him on the farm, and in the summertime here or there, he would hit some mineral licks. And then early October, I was getting him on the farm. Then he left. Another buck moved in.
Yeah, another 10-point that looks similar, probably a little bit bigger.
He's bigger than him. Yeah, he moved in, and this buck just disappeared for like 3 or 4 weeks. Late November, he came back.
We started seeing him in the field. Like
Yeah,
we were just driving by.
and I
seeing
did get
him.
some trail camera footage of him cruising the farm, hitting some scrapes. But then he went back to that field area, and no, he has not been hitting our main farm. I've only been getting him in this. There's 2 fields, and I can hunt one of them, and I can see the other one. And that's where he's been living. He's got probably 100 acres of flat, swampy,
Bedding area.
good bedding type area where he can see very far. It's open woods, but it's swampy, old growth timber that's north of this field that he just comes in and out of, and
there's some grasses and a lot of pricker. There's some browse in there, I'm sure.
yeah,
he's eating
he just
too.
doesn't have much reason to leave. Now, obviously he's spending some time on someone else's farm too, but just not one that I know about. He's definitely not spending time on our section of the farm.
And it's strange, and it's kind of like this every year that we get so pinpointed into areas. We got this big farm to hunt. We pinpoint on small areas because that's where these deer are coming to. And on the rest of our farm, there hasn't been a mature buck in
No,
weeks.
I haven't ran.
Weeks.
Yeah, there hasn't been a mature buck since like Tuesday at gun season on anywhere else in the farm. You killed the one
so
on
that's
Monday.
over a month.
Yeah, you killed the one on Monday, and we're running. I don't know, 14 cell cams spread out. I mean, I have them spread out. Just most of them now are just on trails and escape routes, just to kind of see.
How does it compare to years past?
How about the same?
About the same.
This time of year, usually. So the only thing I will say is, this time of year, usually we have a good amount of bucks that'll be hitting corn, and we don't really actually have a ton of corn out right now. But you're usually like 2 3-year-olds. Right now, we got this 1 4-year-old and a bunch of 1.5-year-olds. There's no in-betweeners. Like, there's barely any in-betweeners. I'm not seeing those 100-inch 8-points that you'd see a lot. I'm seeing 6s and spikes, and then this one buck.
So
this
either
one mature deer.
all these deer are hanging out somewhere else, or they got decimated during gun season.
Gun
which
season,
is a possibility.
there was a lot of shooting during gun season. We lost, since gun season, we haven't had a couple bucks on camera that we really wanted to survive. Deer that we passed during bow season, like good deer with really, really good potential. There was 2 different 3-year-olds that had one had split G2s, one had split G3s, and they were just beautiful bucks, and they're gone. So I would assume they got killed. Maybe not. Maybe they got pushed away.
We say the same thing every year. Last year was the same way. I shot the only mature buck late season that we had pictures of, basically. There was the one other bird's nest that we were hunting, but that story's in a few podcasts ago.
Yeah, it's done.
But once I shot the 5x3, that old busted up buck, we didn't have any mature bucks after that.
They're
None.
all 2 and 3-year-olds last year.
So this year's
there was nothing I wanted to shoot. I kind of stopped hunting.
So this year's pretty much the same as years past.
Yeah.
And it was all doom and gloom last year. Then we came into this year with more shooters than we know what to do with. So.
Yeah. I would like,
So they hide somewhere.
Interesting.
Or they're eating someone else's corn in their backyard.
yeah, because I know the neighbors are corning up a lot, and we're hunting
A couple
over it.
different ones.
And like I said, there was a lot of shots during gun season. I mean, the neighbors shot. I mean, I was in the woods every day during rifle season, and I heard shots on the neighbor's property. You know, different neighbors throughout the week, but I mean, every night there was someone close by was shooting at last like 2 or 3 shots. So like a lot of deer got killed, a lot of deer got shot.
And our eyes got opened a little bit more this year with the buck that you missed during gun season.
Yeah, that's
he came in for. Well, he was here in November.
He was here for 6 hours.
Then he came in. Caleb hunted him, missed him, and we got pictures of him 2 miles away.
The next day, 2 miles
gone.
away.
Like so,
during
these
the
deer
run,
are
yeah.
exactly where we wouldn't think we'd ever get a chance of these deer now. And he came for 6 hours, and you missed him.
He was only here 6 hours. He didn't even sleep here. Like he was here. He showed up in daylight. I hunted him that day, missed him, and he left in daylight. And
so some of these late season
like it's
deer,
crazy. Like
some of these late season deer could be bedding in a river bottom 3 miles away. We would never know. Not going to have a chance at them again until next year.
Right. It's all about survival now for them.
Oh yeah.
You know.
And they all survive because we end up seeing them again.
yeah. I mean that
Besides the few that get shot.
Yeah, that was a cool story. I mean, I really wish I would have killed that deer that night.
Whiffed.
It would have been.
That was
those
texts were then you sent me the text of the tree, and I was like, oh boy, that was rough.
It was so
good,
bad.
really good at shooting trees.
Yeah, God.
We already told that story.
Yeah, that story's been told a couple times. So muzzleloader season's coming in today. Actually, before this podcast, we went out and we sighted in our muzzleloaders, or attempted to sight in our muzzleloaders.
What a disaster.
So I'm shooting a Thompson Center Impact, which is pretty cheap. I won it somewhere, Banquet, Whitetail Unlimited or Ducks Unlimited or some type of thing. I won this muzzleloader, stainless version. Luke, our brother Luke, is going to be doing some doe hunting because he's already tagged out on Beauty. He's shooting the same gun, but just a
black one.
It's a regular black version.
They both sighted in relatively easy. They were off. They were like 6 inches high initially.
Both of them were.
Clicked them down, and then we were popping the gong at 150, no problem.
And I think they were 6 inches high at 50 because I think last year we sighted them in like 2 inches high at 100.
Yeah, because we had we were probably sighting them for 200 yards.
Yeah, we were trying to being idiots because I am not shooting that gun 200 yards. I'll shoot at 150 on Saturday, but I ain't shooting 200 yards. I know you can with muzzleloaders. I ain't doing it. I'm not good enough shot. Simple as that. But I hit the gong at 150, so both those guns are good. Isaac's shooting the old Renegade 50 cal cap and ball. He tried shooting the gong at 150 and didn't hit it.
Well, the front blade sight was wider than the 12-inch gong at 150 yards. So, but I tried. I had to give it a shot. But that's patch and ball, so I don't even know what that's doing at 150 yards.
You were hitting fine at 50.
Yeah, so it'll be a 75-yard and in. I'm just shooting for a doe. Never killed a doe with a muzzleloader.
Dad's killed a couple deer with that. He killed his first buck with that gun
30 years ago.
That's cool.
Literally 30 years ago.
Cool.
I think 1993.
We have the 45 Cherokee somewhere.
Yeah, I have that all set up too. We could shoot that.
Like if I kill, depending on how it goes, I might take that gun out for a doe at some point.
Yeah, I have.
If I end up killing that buck or whatever happens with that buck, if I kill that buck tonight, that'd be real nice.
I'm pretty sure I was using that hunting last year because my muzzleloader bag and quick loads and everything was set up for that gun, so it's ready to roll too.
And then Jay, your main gun is an Encore, right? Thompson Center Encore.
Yeah, I've had it for a long time.
Nice gun. It was the pinnacle of muzzleloader. It was the Jim Shockey muzzleloader.
Yeah,
that's what he shot.
I remember I bought it set up from, and this is still a big outfit now. I think it's called Bud's Gun Shop.
Oh yeah. So, biggest online gun dealer there is.
I bought it set up, and it came. I mean, it came. Well, I had a Leupold. I think it's Ultra Slam. I think is the name of the.
It's a fancy gun.
Well, it's the scope is a ballistic reticle for muzzleloaders.
Yeah,
and it's like you can dial it to 3 pellets, 2 pellets, whatever, and that thing has been money. I don't know if I dropped it.
Yeah, and you're not using it this week.
But I'm not using it because it
did not shoot well.
over the well. So I'm just gonna use my Western muzzleloader, which is open sights, but I know that thing is
CVA?
money. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They sell a Western specific because for people who don't know, when you go out west to muzzleload hunt, they have very specific regulations, open sights, closed breech, these different things. And CVA just kind of makes a gun that fits all that criteria.
Yeah, which we both bought when we hunted out there years ago.
You still have yours too, right?
Yeah. Hopefully I'll get to use it again in the future.
Yeah, and all else fails, you just take your bow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't forget your orange. For some reason, I always forget about orange during muzzleloader season. Like it skips
because
my mind
after
until
gun
the
season,
last
we
second.
put it away.
But yeah, so Jay is a non-baiter, and in order to hunt this weekend, we got them set up in a couple spots that don't have any bait on the farm. We're actually not running very much bait this year, and I know baiting's a topic we've talked about a few times in here.
And I think we're going to hit that hard in a couple episodes.
There's going to be we're eventually we're going to have the grand baiting episode, but we're not having that baiting.
It's going to be a big round table.
We're not having that today, but we will talk about it a little bit because this late in the season, Jay's actually going to a spot where we have a 2-acre. It's the Deadly Dozen, so it's like a brassica grass. It's a really good food plot mix. Didn't hunt it a lot this year.
Which people are saying right now, well, that's fucking baiting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But
people do make that argument.
Yeah, they do. So Jay's hunting a natural food plot that hasn't seen any bait all year, and it actually has only been hunted like 1 or 2 times because this was a soybean year, and once the soybeans are gone, that food plot's pretty open for the most part, and it just seems like the mature bucks don't hit it in daylight. They'll be in there in the middle of the night, but when there's corn, it's hidden from it gets kind of hidden in by the natural crop rotation, and there's a lot more mature buck activity in this food plot when there's standing corn in October and November. So this time of year, the does are still using it. He's probably going to have I would say there's like a 0% chance he doesn't see a deer.
He will see deer.
So he's going to get an opportunity.
And where he's hunting, the deer might be in 360 too, so that might be a little strange too, because you might see deer in places you don't expect.
Yeah, they might come out where we were shooting today.
I wanted to make it to like a little bit of a softer hunt because Beth is coming with me, and I don't want it to be a bad experience. I want it to be a little warm. Blind's perfect. I can bring my little buddy heater in there.
Yeah, you can bring a blanket.
Yeah.
And so you can go out the last hour before dark. You don't have to go out there.
So, I just want it to be a good first experience,
And we've
not my normal misery.
We have killed plenty of deer out of that blind. Just this year we didn't hunt it that much. That's all. It was a blind that.
Yeah, because as soon as the crops came off, we bombed into the woods. So why would we hunt the blind on the field when we can hunt a stand that's 60 yards into the woods?
Yep.
More dialed in.
So that's kind of the layout. Where I'm hunting has been some bait out. I don't know what I'll call it, but I kind of did the spread pattern with some bait. There's been a few times in the last couple of weeks I've gone out there with some corn and I've spread it out in the field like over like a 10-acre area, just like to put a tiny little hole in the bag and just walk around, like spread it all throughout. And it's kind of helped to keep. What it has done is brought in a whole shit ton of turkeys for one. Mm-hmm. And what it has done is it keeps. I don't like to hunt. It's very hard to hunt, especially in an open field, especially late season when these deer are all on edge. I don't like to hunt like a central corn pile. So if I'm gonna hunt over corn this time of year, because otherwise you're just not gonna see any deer. If you're hunting over a centralized corn pile, the deer come in and they're just on edge and they're looking around and you're drawing your bow with 10 deer with it's a mess, and we've killed deer that way. But I don't prefer to hunt that way, and I hate it. You do the field spread method where you just put a tiny hole in a bag of corn, you walk around 10-acre area. It just kind of spreads it out, and the deer act like it's a field.
It's almost a little bit more natural to them. It's like a cut cornfield at that point.
Well, I remember a while back, this was a big source of debate with QDMA maybe, that the central corn pile was possibly contributing to the whole CWD thing.
Yeah.
And because really you're localizing probably let's say
the mucus membranes,
6 to 8 deer at a time, all urinating, defecating, and eating in the exact same spot.
And the raccoons.
Not to mention the 20
raccoons are laying
right.
down.
So that's no matter how you look at it, that's not healthy or natural.
No. So that's why we've gotten away from that, and like I know Nick this year when he started baiting later in the season, he did the same thing. He would actually take the side by side and like lower the bed down and have it like half open, just walk behind it as someone else is driving, and just like spread it out over these huge areas, and like that way the deer react to it more naturally.
Yeah,
it doesn't make as big of a muddy mess either, which is nice in the farmers' fields.
And hopefully it's healthier for the deer, like you said. They're not eating and standing in their own shit.
Yeah. Because otherwise, right now we have, besides that 2-acre food plot that Jay's gonna be hunting, we got a couple other late season food plots, and I haven't actually been monitoring too much with the trail cams, but there's not much food left besides that.
No, not on our farm.
So earlier in the year when it was warm out, the deer have all this natural browse available, all the low level shrubbery, and it hasn't been snowing at all. This is it's snowing right now, so this is the second snow of the season. So the last snow, Nick killed his buck. Hopefully this snow, I can kill my buck. But the food's just been spread out. We have no standing corn in the area whatsoever, or no cut corn. It was all soybeans this year. That's going to change next year. I'm happy about that, actually. Some people don't like when they have corn, but I'm pretty excited to get some corn in the rotation.
Yeah, and it all depends because sometimes these farmers will cut the corn and then come back a week later and chisel plow.
Yeah, and then it turns into barren, barren,
misery.
muddy wasteland. There is no available food
because that corn
1,500-acre fields are useless.
Yeah, that corn may still be out there, but those deer do not like walking in that chisel plow field because it's just mud up to their ankles.
Yeah, deer have
ankles.
If you go into the field with your boots on and start walking through those it's miserable on you. Think about the deer all the time, So you're right. That's one downside, but we're going to get some corn next year planted. I believe our entire north side of the farm is going to be corn next year.
So that's going to change things. We haven't had.
It's been 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
We had 2 years of beans, so we're going to change things up with our food plots a little bit to take advantage of that. Our south farm is going to go through another transformation. We're doing soybeans again, and then they're going to put in winter wheat and then go into a hay cutting. So we're going to have
new
a hay
farmer
rotation.
Next year.
Yeah, new farmer, and we're going to start hay. So the hay won't be for 2 years, but once the hay rotation starts, it's going to be alfalfa and hay for at least probably a decade, I would say. And it used to be that way in our farm, and then we started a crop rotation, but we're kind of going back to it.
Which is kind of exciting because the hay fields around here seem to get hammered pretty much the whole season.
Yeah, early season up until the die-off of freeze. The hay fields are hot. It's good for turkey hunting. It's great for turkey hunting.
Yeah, because it's nice and mowed, perfect strut zones.
Yeah. So it's going to change things up a lot. We might have to look into doing some low-level habitat stuff to add a little bit more food. There's a couple areas we could probably remove some trees and
get more into
thicken it up a little
cutting
bit.
Type.
We haven't done a ton of that in our farm. There's only really 2 areas where we've ever done any hinge cutting.
Yeah, but you've got at least on a south farm, you have very uncharacteristic topography for this area.
Yeah, we have
a lot of crazy ravines and valleys, and it's almost southern Ohio-ish for up here, which is really interesting.
Anything north of us here is flat. So if you go north of where we live, it's flat until Lake Erie. But if you go south of where we live, it starts to get in those foothills. We're not like Millersburg. If you're down in that area, that's truly hilly. But we start the foothills of the Appalachians right here.
Yeah, because we're in a strange area. We are it's the Continental Divide, isn't that what it is?
The Continental Divide's within literally within a mile.
It rains and water runs north on one side of our farm and south on the other side.
Atlantic Ocean and Gulf of Mexico. It goes into both places.
So we're pretty close to that. We're within a mile of that line.
Yeah. So
because our creeks run. Somehow.
Our creeks all run west and then south.
Yeah.
But a lot of other rivers around here run north up into Lake Erie. But some of ours actually do go into Lake Erie though. Our creeks here on the farm. They end up reverting back
because of the way they're winding.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what we have going on right now. I'm excited for a little bit of the cold and snow. I mean, it's finally going to get the deer moving. The mud goes away for a little bit. I mean, it's going to come back once this melts, but it's nice to finally get some crisp, cold snow.
It'd be nice for it to freeze and stay frozen, but anymore that doesn't happen in Ohio.
Yeah, not very often. Where do you guys want to go with this next? I mean, I have doe management written down, but we already hit that early.
We kind of hit that.
Maybe next year's plans. I mean, we're kind of wrapping it
up.
This
year,
it's the end of the year, but it's not the end of our podcast season. But it is the end of the year, and we're shifting on to what we're going to do next year, so we can definitely cover some of that.
Yeah, because this year Jay's meat hunting, then you're pretty much done. You're not really buck hunting anywhere. I would say.
No. My next thing will be. It sounds like. Beth and I are going to go to Montana for her first Western experience. I'm going to try not to do my usual thing. Again, I don't want to turn her off.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you some advice here. Very rarely do I get to give you advice, but this is something where I can give you some advice. Don't treat her like you did us. Because she will not only leave you, but she will never want to go outside again. We can handle that. And I'm not saying Beth can't.
No, she's a
super, professional woman, but
she's super adventurous.
16 days of staring at a mountainside.
She took her kids to Utah on an adventure, loved it. So got into a dangerous situation, got lost, turned around or something. And
that's always good for the soul, though.
It is. Right, exactly. So she loves it. Has a lot of questions about it, but it's going to be more of just kind of a Western adventure that I can bear hunt when we're doing it.
So you're going to do the spring thing?
Yeah.
Okay, you are. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
3 years in a row.
Yeah, because I really enjoy that time. There's probably you barely see anybody.
Yeah,
Not a lot of
we
people.
didn't see a single person.
No, we didn't see a single berry.
concerning.
We
Concerning
almost
didn't
we
see
almost saw one guy, and we
Yeah.
haven't figured out what the
hid
fuck he
from
was
us.
doing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's the only human being we
Such
saw
a
on the
bizarre
entire
story.
trip.
Yeah, so it's just going to be like, hey, camp a night or two, Airbnb in town,
Yeah.
grab dinner,
Yeah.
and
That actually
leisurely,
sounds like
a
lot of fun.
Which
Sounds really
it's going to
fun.
be a real shift for me. Like it's going to be
Yeah.
a real shift for me, but probably a welcome change of pace for after this last year.
I think Isaac. I know Isaac has, and we're shifting back into the bear conversation again, which we haven't had. But I think if we do it again, and we will do the bear hunt again, but I think
no doubt.
Isaac wants to do it a little bit differently, maybe more like that. Maybe 2 or 3 days hunting this style, maybe then 2 or 3 days of stalking, and then maybe 2 or 3 days of let's just go to fucking town and get fucked up, and then go again. Like you are balls to the wall when you hunt by yourself or when you hunt with a group like us. You were 16 days. I always say 16 days when it really wasn't. It was like 13 days.
I think it was 16 days from home to home.
Yeah.
but-
Of like full throttle, just full throttle. And I don't know if that's the way to do it. I don't know if I would.
I think maybe
Like
it would
that
have
again. I
been.
I think it's different strokes, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
It's
No, 100%.
That's how I like to do it because, again, like referencing one of our previous podcasts, I want to come home knowing I put everything I had into it. But I think it's just the mindset you have going in. If I can change that mindset of going in that, hey, I know I'm not going to do it the balls to the wall way, then I'm not going to expect that coming out.
I think seasons left. I think your seasons left thing has a lot to play into that.
Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
Like you're trying to make the most.
Absolutely. And I think that
whatever it is that you have left, you're
Yeah.
trying to make the most of
Yeah.
it. Like we have the
100%.
outlook of like, well, I got 40 years of hunting left, so
Yeah.
let's enjoy every trip to the fullest.
Yeah.
And if that includes R&R or traveling around or taking a day to see Yosemite National Park instead.
you hope you have that left.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I guess we don't ever know.
You don't know.
Especially in our job, but we don't. I guess we don't have to go into that, but
Yeah, so and then we're going to try to do a rut mule deer hunt.
Late October, early November rifle. I would imagine
Yeah.
rifle or muzzleloader, possibly muzzleloader, depending on draws.
Yep. I think
Mule deer hunt. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna
Snow, wood stoves.
Yep.
Shitty weather.
and we talked about this earlier today. Those seasons are not long.
Yeah.
They kind of dictate how long you're going to be out there. So maybe a couple days before to scout
Because
and
I think
whatnot.
the states we're looking at, I think like some of the seasons are 8 days, 10 days,
I
9
think
days.
I don't
Some
think
even
there's any,
6 days.
I don't think there's one that's longer than 10.
So I haven't really talked to you about your plans for next year as far as Western stuff. This is the first time we've had any
Yeah, because I guess
conversations
you
about
didn't. We haven't posted the podcast where we talked about it a little bit, and you haven't really sat in on us talking
it.
about
No,
it.
because it's not my forte
And
per se.
since Caleb's having a kid, he
and I'm
ixnayed
out.
himself from
I'm
our
out next year.
our Western group
probably the
chat.
next couple years because I'm gonna have a newborn at home.
So all the discussions that we're having about Western, he hasn't been able to see.
Are you doing anything early? I guess is my question to you. So like you've always been known to disappear
I
in
don't
September.
think so. That's
Okay.
I do have time off, but I don't think I'm going to do anything early because we're going to be doing this later.
And here's the other, it's all a crapshoot because
we have to draw.
we're still going to put in for some high end
the crazy-
hunt,
the
crazy
crazy,
hunts that are low chance. But if you draw, you make that work.
Yeah,
You
some
figure
of
it out.
those are early and some are late. And some
Yeah.
are mid.
So that's all. A lot of that is up in the air. Like some of them you can put in as a party, some of them you can't. So like, let's say he draws one and I don't. I'm going to try to go with him if he wants me to, just to go for the experience.
Yeah, we got to find a man to film some of this stuff too.
Yeah.
If you draw once in a lifetime, or we got to find a way to have.
And this
some
year
camera
we are
stuff
doing
going
a
on.
little different because we're not. This might be the first year we're not doing any general tags. We're not putting in for any
Yeah.
general tags. So these are all limited entries. So there is a chance we might not get any tags.
Yeah.
And then you kind of make the decision: do you want to do an over the counter, which don't always have the best odds and don't always have the best atmosphere and blah blah blah.
Right.
Or do you not go? So
Well,
We'll see. We'll
I
see.
know, I do know that Ethan is really, really, really looking forward to September in Kentucky. He did it last year twice. Last year he went down twice on his own to hunt velvet bucks in Kentucky early September, and like he really wants to do that again. So like that's something you might be able to help him with, and I might even be able to go with him on some of that stuff by that point in time.
yeah, so this spring,
If it's
it's
only
kind
a
of spring
couple
into
days.
summer, the application season for out west. So That's going to be an exciting time. I'm going to try to do a whole bunch of research and time things up. So, say we don't draw our November tags, possibly there's still a state we can put in for September.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because it's so weird in these states, and they don't look at each other's rules. They don't look at each other's time frames.
Do not care.
So, like, you got to time it just right to say if you want to get into Utah. The application deadline for Utah is April 1st, but Montana doesn't draw until May. So you want to try for Utah first, then Montana, because if you wait for Montana, you can't come back to Utah and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I think my backup plan, if everything fails and everything just goes to shit and I don't draw anything,
Which is a big possibility.
it's a possibility for sure. I have a good friend who lives in Missouri who has some phenomenal farms. He has given me a standing invite. If that invite is still open, I would probably just go out there, visit with him, spend some time with him, and just in Missouri, their rifle whitetail hunt is during the rut.
Yeah.
So
and it's over the counter, right?
and it's over the counter.
So you're looking for another unimpressive booner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty much us when it comes to the fall.
Yeah, I haven't made any plans yet. I mean, mine's kind of up in the air because of the baby coming. But by fall, I'll have some time, and I have time off from work, and I'll be able to do some stuff. But I haven't really thought on what I want to do outside of the norm. I mean,
There has been some discussion instead of our Indiana trip doing a
Pennsylvania.
not early rut, but kind of a mid-October Pennsylvania trip.
Yeah, switch up the location of our public land challenge thing. I'm never, we're not going to cross our Indiana spots off the map by any means, but we've done it 2 years in a row. We've got fucked by weather 2 years in a row. And
Yes, big time.
I think both groups that have gone both years, us and Born Again, I think they kind of feel a little, I mean, I can't put words in their mouth, but I think they kind of feel a little bit the same too. That'd be 3 years in a row going to the same cabins, hunting the same area, trying to see the same caliber of deer. It might be better for us all to kind of switch it up a bit and then go to an all newer area and kind of
So we are thinking
do the
about that.
relearn of an area now that we kind of know our way around Indiana pretty well, that area of Indiana.
This is interesting too. And I don't know, we haven't had a full conversation about it, but I was exchanging messages with Ryan and Nick on Instagram the other day, and Ryan mentioned something about Western hunting. So I don't know if maybe he
has been.
Yeah, I could tell his history is Utah. So
Yeah.
with Dylan.
He hasn't hunted with us, but we have a mutual acquaintance that he hunts with out there.
Oh,
he was
okay.
actually
the guy that went to school with me at my grade.
Oh,
my
okay.
area.
he was
He's done
actually
it 2
out
years
there the
now.
same time as us. One year.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe he was like
No.
looking at getting into it.
No,
So
like,
he's been
maybe
going
I'm
to
like,
Utah.
well,
Yeah, he's got. I think
Okay,
he's gone
cool.
twice now. I
Right
think
on.
he's done Utah archery, mule deer twice.
which he's
now.
gotten close. I think he missed twice.
Yeah,
last year.
I got to get him on the podcast and maybe
Talk
talk
about
about it. But yeah, last year, and I don't want to bring him down a little bit because he's a hell of a hunter here in Ohio and just
He's
never
a
misses
killer
anything.
of deer here.
Killer of deer, the Mr. Automatics we call him, but I do think he's had some opportunities out west and struck out on him.
Yeah.
The
we're
whole
talking
Western
some,
thing is
we're talking some big.
whole
that's
nother
another
ballgame.
that's another
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
But Nick would never in a million years hunt west of. He'd go to as far west as he'll go is Iowa. Yeah. He ain't.
He's not much of a traveler when it comes to not family stuff. He'll travel with the family, but I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah.
he's a
I don't
hunting
think. Yeah,
traveler.
I don't think sleeping in a tent on a mountain for 10 days is anywhere in his future plans. It's just not what he's going to do. But Ryan will. So Ryan, he might be someone to kind of add to the group for the Western stuff. Dylan, Dylan always goes out west with you guys. You guys have been in conversation more with him about it than I have, but I don't know what his Western plans are.
So he
I'm
just
not
sent us
sure.
a message the other day. It may be blown up for what we had the three of us were originally planning all this November stuff.
Yeah.
But he just sent us a message the other day saying he's got a bunch of like weddings.
Yeah,
two weddings.
One
I
of the
think.
local friends is getting married one of the weekends in November.
And then he has a family wedding that's out of town.
Yeah, yeah.
Another
That sounds awful.
Another
Yeah,
weekend.
so
Like that sounds
like
awful.
a Hilton Head wedding in November.
Oh, whoever that is, that sucks, man.
Yeah. But anyways, we were talking about Pennsylvania hunting, which I wanted to hit on that for a second.
Yeah, so one thing about the Pennsylvania hunting, like we said, we possibly might do that for our public land challenge if we do it next year, like October timeframe. I had an opportunity to attend a deer camp in Pennsylvania this year with a friend of mine from work who has a couple cabins actually, and I didn't take it because it was during Ohio season and I'm hunting a buck here. I would be very interested in going up to Pennsylvania possibly for their bear season, which is before
Yeah, they have
their guns. It's
they have a
before
bear
right.
gun and a bear muzzleloader, and they're kind
Right.
of different times. That's what I want to talk about with Pennsylvania. It's so difficult to hunt there because of their different seasons.
And they have the no Sunday thing, which
And they
really
have an early
really,
muzzleloader season for does, which I guess gets hit hard. They have the bear season, and then their gun seasons start in early November. So that kind of
Yes.
like, if we're gonna go on a rut hunt and we're gonna go out of state, go on a rut hunt, you would love to go the first 2 weeks, maybe into the third week of November. But a lot of these states pretty much making it possible because rifle comes in.
Is there something keeping you? Is it just a logistics thing where you don't go to a bigger buck state?
Well, there isn't very many options for that over the counter where you can have
over the counter public
land and access to get, if we're going to have 15 people,
that's a lot of
Missouri,
people.
Missouri is kind of an option.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about that a little bit. They've bumped around Nebraska a little bit and hated it. So
Yeah.
which
there was
Nebraska
that.
completely changed their laws.
There's not, I mean,
They're not over the
Illinois
counter
doesn't
anymore.
have a ton of public land that I know of.
Illinois is doable.
And then, we went to Indiana but I mean, Indiana, the area, like, not to give too much away, but where we were hunting in Indiana, the guys we went hunting with had a 180-inch buck on camera that week. I mean,
Right.
Trophy. What are you talking about? Trophy state. I mean,
Right.
I had multiple 140s on camera. It's not
Right.
like it's not like a small deer thing.
Yeah,
but we're hunting big timber.
Yeah.
That's the difference. There's big bucks, but it's big timber. We're
Right.
not hunting. You go to Iowa public land. There's ag everywhere, and 150-inch bucks run around. Like, that's not what it's like in Indiana, in Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, where we go. Even though there are deer there, they're just harder to find.
And we kind of go for the camp atmosphere, the ease for one thing.
Yeah.
It's
Missouri
2 to
would be-
5 hours away for one.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
nice for a long weekend.
Yeah,
You
right.
know,
And that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go 4 nights, 5 days usually.
Yeah.
We make our
It's
trip.
almost like if we did the Iowa thing, 5 points, 6 points, whatever it is to draw that tag. We wanted to go hunt big bucks. We wouldn't do it big camp atmosphere.
Right.
We would do it lone wolf style
yeah,
because
yeah,
we're going
yeah,
there
right, right.
to kill a 170 like
Yeah.
you did this year.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, and Isaac hits the nail right on the head.
We don't want to set up.
No, that makes perfect sense.
We don't want to set up an Airbnb with 15 guys and be like, all right, guys, let's go hunting in Iowa and waste our
That makes
tag that
perfect
we've been
sense.
applying to.
And we do, there's a little bit of competition because it is like a public land challenge. We like to say that, like, the story went that we won the first year and they won the second year. So, like,
we'll
now
give
we're
it
going
to
to a third year. Are we talking about switching it up to a different state? Would we go back? I wouldn't have any problems with going back, but the romance of a new spot kind of is interesting to me. Like, let's move this thing somewhere else and keep it going.
Yeah.
I would do West Virginia too, but the public land in West Virginia is tough. It's tough.
Oh yeah, and it's pretty much only WMAs, so they're like small little tracks that would be
and
running
they're
into
steep,
each other.
Where we went in Indiana worked really well because there was so much land and we were never on top of each other.
Yeah.
And we were drivable. Just hop in your truck, drive 20 minutes, we're hunting. You could hunt right out the back door.
And Pennsylvania is even more.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, where we'll probably go to the area. I mean, I would campaign to go to the area where we trout fish, because it's anywhere you drive, you just park your truck on the side of the road and you're public land everywhere. I mean, everywhere. So
Yeah, because the tract of public land that we hunt on is literally half the state.
yeah,
With
everyone
private,
knows what
with
that
private
is.
in between. So
Yeah.
like, you could walk for miles and miles and miles.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at with that part of things.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going there to hunt big bucks, even though there's big bucks there.
That's not the purpose.
That's not the purpose
I
of
mean,
that trip.
no one's gonna. They gave me the boarding end guys gave me a lot of crap because I passed up a
82
72, 75-inch 8-point. Like, oh, come on, man! Like,
Which we'll give it to them. They went on that trip to kill.
yeah, they were shooting anything.
They
with
did. They
antlers.
did kill some things.
and they 3, right? They killed
Two.
two, couple
I
wounds. Kevin killed that really, really nice 140,
Yeah.
140 class 9-point. But
They shot.
I mean,
that.
I
They
just
shot
w-
that in the preseason. We weren't even there yet.
yeah, technically we weren't even there yet. Yeah, right. But we, I don't have it in me to shoot the 75-inch 8-point, even on a trip like that. Even though you spent the money and you got a tag and you're in the woods, like, I just can't.
It depends on the atmosphere. It just depends.
I used to say the same thing about West Virginia, but I've started turning into the I just can't in West Virginia too. Like we have shot plenty of smaller, younger deer in West Virginia, and the crew still does when we go down to the Gore camp. But I'm at the point where it's like I'm just not going to drag this thing out a mile and a half for a 6-point.
Yep.
I'll let him walk. I'm in the woods, maybe a bear will walk by instead, that kind of thing, you know. And then there is the chance that one of the larger bucks will go by because there are some big ones there. But yeah, I mean,
that's another thing with Pennsylvania. While we're there for this challenge, there is some dates that line up that we could hunt bears as well.
And that's appealing to me.
That's cool.
Appealing. That we
got to time it just right so you can hunt bucks and you can hunt bears both with your bow, and there's no gun season. There's a small window that we can go.
And the thing that sucks about this window that he's talking about, you have to fit in 10 other guys at home hunting. So that's a big part of this situation is I got guys that like myself and like, you know, guys like Nick on the crew and Dylan on the crew who want to go on these trips with us. But if you have a 160-inch buck on October 28th at your farm, daylighting, you can't be fucking around in Pennsylvania. Chase them out and go to the guys. Like,
it comes. It comes.
But it kind of depends on what your priorities are. Like ours are a little different because we're kind of more to that adventure. Like I may give up 2 weeks in November next year to go chase forky mule deer.
Don't worry, I'll have a buck here at home. You can shoot on opening day gun season.
Caleb will set me up.
But and that's the thing. Like it's you miss. You know, you got to decide which one is more important to you: adventure, fun, this kind of thing, or success at home. You know, some guys are really, you know, it's no fault to them. I mean, my wall is down here. Some guys really care about getting that wall, and they, you know, passing a 150-inch buck because, you know, a deer you've had on camera for 3 years and 2 sheds of that you really want to kill because you run around with Caleb and Isaac in Indiana. They're like, well, sorry, Caleb and Isaac, but I can drink. I can drink with you 300 days a year at your shop. I don't need it. But then, at the same time, you might have a year where these guys kill bucks in early October and they're itching and we're going and it's the most fun we've ever had. You know, that happens too. We've had some years like that. So it all depends on what guys are doing here, you know.
Yeah, so next year is going to be so up in the air. So
yeah, it really
usually
is.
we have it last year I remember.
Oh, we were so planned
I picked
out.
my vacation at work and I had everything planned out to a T.
And
this year it's so up in the air.
That there is an advantage to being planned out. And I do enjoy having it planned out, but I feel like this is the year where that's not going to work.
No, and it's not
just
going to obviously, huge changes to you.
Yeah.
Your huge changes cause us big changes because obviously you're having a kid. It's first grandkid. We're going to have niece or nephew, depending on what it is, obviously. Yeah. It's going to be a big year.
The last 5 years I've had October, November, and December off of work, and it's like, let's just get in the truck and go somewhere, and we do.
We sort of thought this was going to happen when Caleb got married 3 or 4 years ago.
2.
But it didn't stop our teenage years. So our teenage years extended. I'm 30, Caleb's, I don't know, 33.
33.
The teenage years are finally ending.
They're ending this spring.
Yeah.
Like they are.
We'll see.
I mean, they won't.
Yeah, what's the over-under on your engagement?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I know. I've been asked. I had guys asking me last
Y'all
night.
can get me in trouble.
I had guys asking me last night, like, what's Isaac doing?
She listens to this podcast.
No pressure.
My wife does not listen to our podcast, so we can say whatever we want.
So anyways, big changes
in
life. Big changes to our plans. We're not really sure.
We're going to, one thing for sure, I have written down on here to kind of go into YouTube a little bit. We're going to be making less videos. The quality and like the main ones aren't going to change in the quality, but I still think there's going to be less content.
I don't think
there's going to be less me walking around with a camera, which is going to result in less content.
But I think
overall.
Our video, and obviously doing the podcast now, that's 52 videos that we didn't do before. So that's going to be a lot of videos.
Plus bonuses. There's going to be, we haven't done one yet. We had 1 week where we missed a podcast because of stuff, but there's going to be some bonus podcasts too. There's going to be weeks where there might be 2 podcast videos because we got extra stuff to talk about. If I kill that buck tonight, we podcast tomorrow, there's going to be a bonus episode.
Oh yeah.
You know, so we'll see. But I want to, we want to spend more time on quality this year than making less videos is not a bad thing.
No, definitely not. Sometimes less is more.
Yeah. We make less videos. We can spend more time on quality. We've upgraded all our cameras for the most part. I mean, our camera game's doing really well. We're working on audio. Our audio stuff now is all high professional quality. So we're really going to try to push for a better product. The bear video, I guess we can run down through it real quick. We got one more episode of SBO Live before I put that series to rest. We're on season 8 of that, and I think we're around 120, maybe 110 to 115. I don't know the exact count episodes in that 8 seasons. Plus 140 some minisodes.
So the SBO Live was pretty much just our year going through the year, we did an episode for like each trip we went on.
And each time period, chronological, we did usually between the first season, we only had like 6 episodes because I don't think we started it in turkey season and just it was a learning curve. But after that, we've had 9 to 20 episodes every season. But we did away with that. Once deer season rolled around this year, we decided to go a different direction, and we did the Deer Camp Chronicles.
Yeah, so we're trying to do more focused series on what we're doing.
Yep. Yeah, and the Deer Camp Chronicles was a massive success.
Yeah, I think
metrics
people
wise,
really
quality wise, and the way it went down. So we're that's going to be our deer seasons going forward. Is we're going to continue this way of hunting or filming. We're definitely going to start a Turkey Camp Chronicles next year. We're
hopefully have some more turkey success.
And we travel turkey hunt as much as we do deer hunting. Actually, we hunted Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Ohio last year, and West Virginia. So we hunted 4 states last year for turkeys, and we might add Indiana because we know there's turkeys in Indiana. So we might add a 5th state for our turkey camps.
And I know Jay wants us to get to Nebraska sometime to hunt turkeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to revisit that because where I killed my Miriam was, from I've been told, just the cat's out of the bag. It's over the counter. It is, from what I understand, an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, and I'd be really interested to see. Maybe they'll fix that. I'd be interested to see how Nebraska whitetail hunting and mule deer hunting is now because they're changing the rules. Because it's not over the counter anymore and they limit the tags and blah, blah, blah.
It just seems like
that's just going forward. That's what it's going to come down to.
Man, just Ohio is the only one that's not changing.
It might. I mean, there are some things, I guess, coming down the docket that they're trying to do, but
there is some lobbying going on.
Yeah, man, I'd love to pick Mike Rex's brain.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That dude is. I've been following that dude since I was a kid.
Yeah.
He's just so smart, and I mean the epitome of Ohio hunting. And I really wished they would have talked about non-resident hunting more.
I think that they have these pre-meetings and they say this is something that we're not talking about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they touched on saying how much it brings into the economy, the percentage of, there's only, I think, 11% of Ohio hunters are non-resident, but they make up like 80% of the money or something. Yeah. I think you can do better than that. You know what I mean? Like, I'd love to see Iowa's numbers.
The hunters aren't going away. You could just make it better for the state.
You can make it better for the residents, 100%. Yeah. So that's probably should be its own podcast. Yeah, it's just Ohio hunting.
That might be a good off-season podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Right before we do the turkey content stuff is when the bear film will come out, which we'll start working on that here pretty soon. So the major bear film, the turkey camp stuff. Then this summer, I mean, it's going to be kind of wide open. We'll just kind of make videos on whatever it is that we feel like we want to do.
We are going to try to get in some more fishing stuff.
Yeah, we're going to push Luke's stuff. So we got to start pushing Luke's, the Leaky Jumbo company. We got to start pushing his stuff because he puts a lot of time into that, and he's going to do a lot of fishing this summer. He does pretty good with the smallmouth bass fishing here in Ohio. That's kind of his thing. But he's gotten into walleyes recently and been catching some good walleye. We'll probably be helping him make content this summer for his channel.
And I might try to get out with him this winter. Since the lake doesn't really freeze anymore, you can pretty much troll for walleye all winter long.
Yeah.
So we might be doing that in January, which is interesting.
Yeah, and that's something that, it's not something I ever search for on YouTube, but I don't see a ton of media on walleye fishing in Ohio. And I know trolling for walleye is not, we're going to have our,
unless you fill them with anchors, right. You get tons of media.
Yeah, we're like, there's a lot of controversy on whether that's even real fishing and blah, 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 blah. And we're definitely going to have podcasts on that.
Yeah,
the only walleye people we know.
Only stuff I see on that is basically commercials for their charter. So
right.
You don't really get the aspect of people doing it for fun. You get, here's our charter, this is what we do, come fish with us, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
So we're going to be spending a lot of time helping Luke with his stuff this summer, and that'll bleed over on a SBO. We'll have some, I really want to do some overnight camping, catfishing type episodes on a couple spots, catch, cook, clean type deal. We've kind of had that idea for a couple years and haven't done it yet, but we'll probably get to that this summer. And then, you guys aren't doing too much early season
potentially
Western hunting, so it might go right into Kentucky. And
it's still in the air. I could be on a mountain in Utah in August.
Yeah,
who knows?
True. That's true. But yeah, I mean, we're at, what are we at here?
Almost an hour. It's 2:30. I know Caleb wants to get out hunting tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we got a little bit of time if we want to touch on anything else real quick. I mean, any you guys been listening to any podcasts? Anything interesting? I mean,
I usually when I'm doing my cardio, I'm bouncing. I'm usually watching your shit and Hunter and I was watching the CJ Alexander stuff.
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit in the last podcast, but more stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
and
it's
I honestly, I'll tell you this: like, if his only thing was the written permission thing, it's one of the dumbest rules Ohio has, anyways.
yeah.
Look, it's probably gotten more people kicked off property than it has on property because the old school landowners don't want to sign a thing.
No.
They don't know.
And they don't care if you
They don't
hunt.
care what it means.
Yeah.
It's actually releasing them of liability.
But
they don't care. They're not going to sign their name to anything that
you go waving a piece of paper in front of an old farmer, he's out.
Yeah, he's out.
He's out.
He's like, oh, I guess you're not on here because I'm not signing that thing.
Yeah.
So what do you do? I mean, it's
and you know, and that law is specifically in place because people like to. You know, I understand why the law exists in Ohio because people like to, well, you know, I got permission to hunt Bob's farm. You know, let's go. And you bring your buddy and then his buddy, and then something happens, and the farmer's like, whoa, I didn't allow. I let you, but I didn't know. You know,
it would have teeth if any of it was enforced until a world record gets
and
killed, then we're looking at.
To be honest, they do enforce it heavily during gun season. I mean, I've never heard of a bow hunter unless they're caught trespassing that this happens to. Obviously,
basically, the only way to get caught is if you're walking out by the road and the game warden happens to drive by.
And that has happened to me. I've had the game warden stop. You know, and if you know the game warden during gun season, especially in this county and around here, he drives around and sees where the trucks are on Monday, and then he kind of forms his plan, knowing that like, well, there's been 5 trucks 3 days in a row at this farm. I'm stopping Thursday night, and I'm going to be there when they come out of the woods, and you know, then they go through the whole.
Whether
thing.
anything comes of that is another standpoint because we've all had problems with poachers and nothing ever comes of it.
I'm assuming that the CJ Alexander, you know, and unfortunately, the image he painted of himself and then all this stuff is painting him in a negative light. So, you know, there's anything associated with his name now is negative, which is probably unfair to him at the moment because he hasn't been convicted of a crime that we know of. But he went dark and his friends went dark, so they obviously probably lawyered up, I would assume, or got some public help or whatever because there's no longer any defending of him going on, and it's real quiet, and it's, you know, it's the holidays, so the court system, who knows what's happening. But according to what I've read, that the rack was seized and it's under investigation. That's basically all we know. Mm-hmm. So where this goes from here, no one really knows at the moment. You know, it's.
I will say it's. I bet you they get it figured out because it's at least national news.
Yeah,
it
was
on
on
a
Outdoor
possible
Life,
world
it was on
record.
Field and
I mean,
Stream. It was on.
They're not going to screw around with that. And the new per inch poaching fine that or newer that Ohio has, that's a lot of money for the state if he's guilty.
Yeah, because if it's over 200 inches, it's like
but here's
20,
the thing.
Yeah,
it's like it's 6 figures if I'm not mistaken.
But not to judge the guy, but like all we know is what he said on Hunter. That's all we know. And I mean, where's he going to come up with 200?
Oh, he's not. He's not. Yeah, I don't know. Right, that's true.
The guy talked about he didn't have a job and this and that and borrowed a crossbow. So like, yeah, I mean, I heard some rumors that I heard was that the rack was seized because he was going to sell the rack to make some money because it was worth a lot to antler collectors, and there's some people on the internet that, you know, there are guys in Ohio that are very famous for buying racks. Maybe that's why it was seized to prevent him from doing that. You know, the heartache of, well, he doesn't own the rack anymore. You know, it just becomes a legal mess if you sell it.
Yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, he's a guy that may not be, you know, the most wealthy. If he can get a couple $100,000 for deer hunting, and if he's not a big deer hunter, he might not care that much.
Yeah, and usually, so like I've had lengthy conversations with Dan Kaufman, who, you know, the Kaufman buck, most people are probably familiar with.
Top 10 all-time Ohio.
He went through that with the, you know, Cabela's offering to buy the rack, and then there's typically two monetary amounts. You have, we want the originals. Okay, well, we'll give you this much for a replica.
Yeah.
Or we will give you X amount for the originals and make you a replica.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's all these different
the
things.
Huffbuck went through the same thing.
But there's nothing illegal about it, so that's not a reason to seize it.
Well, I think, I understand.
They didn't want to change it.
They didn't want the rack disappearing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sell it to
but
someone.
The bottom line is he was under investigation.
Right.
That's why.
Yes.
And it's the biggest topic in the hunting world. Just a real quick blurb, because it popped up on my social media yesterday, and then he made a post about it. We'll give Josh Bomar 5 seconds.
Here we go.
There's a whole bunch of stuff on shooting a crocodile, a world record crocodile that might have been illegal or something. He came out today and said
when we get off, I'll log on to whogivesashit.com and read the story.
Right, but it's the point I'm bringing it. The reason I'm bringing it up, and the point is, these guys can't stay out of. No matter what it is that's happening, they can't stay out of the controversy, regardless of what it is, and they're going to complain about it. But at the same time, they're feeding.
But there's also when you get to the Bomar level, I think it's no news is bad news. Right, no publicity is bad publicity.
Because that's their life, that's their income, is to be in the tabloids. And if they're in the tabloids, positive or negative, it doesn't matter. They have enough fans already that even if it's negative,
it becomes it's almost like the WWE of hunting. You're like a character. They might even be awesome people, but they just put on this they put on the heel act just for attention.
It's so weird. It's like a soap opera.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's like a big show
it's not my scene.
It's a big show that everybody knows is fake, but they watch it for just the entertainment.
Right.
So speaking of,
so weird.
Did you listen to the Chris Brackett?
No, I can't stand that.
Oh my gosh, it is.
You have to watch it.
You have to. It's 3 hours
is it a
long.
Train wreck?
Oh my god,
your jaw will be on the table.
like he. I did learn a lot about Chris Brackett, but he throws out that he has autism and Asperger's, and that's why.
When I was young, I was a fan of Chris Brackett.
Well, yeah,
he did the arrow affliction. A 12-year-old kid. He's shooting arrows through tubes and shit. I'm like, that's the coolest thing ever. Yeah, if I would have known the dude that he is.
Well, he gets on there. He's like, I'm the dude. If he pissed me off, I'd just fuck his girl. And I'm like, jeez. I'm like, come on,
he
man.
says this on the podcast
multiple times. And
wow.
It's just
you have to watch it.
You
gotta watch it.
I applaud him for being real and talking real and keeping it that way. But
holy shit,
my opinion of him at that podcast is you're farther loony than I even thought you were.
I thought he was just getting a bad rap. Celebrity hunter. He got caught up and shot $2 or whatever the hell.
He literally just was. It's like the addiction spiral. He was getting famous and he had to keep it going, and he was going to succeed at all costs, and that cost was poaching, shooting extra deer, and then
on film, and then cameraman ratting.
He did a lot of blaming of the cameraman.
Because I don't know if you heard the story when he got caught.
I do remember that. Yeah, he pissed off his cameraman because he was treating him like shit.
Shoots the buck, and then a bigger buck comes out, and he goes, film that one, and I'll shoot that one. And
I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't even finished it yet because it's 3 hours long, and I'm only going 45 minutes at a time. I had to turn it off. But it sounds like he did it years prior, and an editor, someone that was working on the editing team, is what actually went and found the footage and pulled it out.
Well, that's when a lot of these poaching things come down, is years later. Yeah, they don't always come out right away. That's why the C.J. Alexander thing's so weird, because it's coming out
Well, I think it's because
right away.
It's the sign of the times. It's just news in general.
He talks about that too in the podcast. Actually, back in the day,
you could get away with
nothing was
there was no right.
And you had to wait till something was on the Outdoor Network the next year. All this stuff, and but now. Everything's innocent. Everything's fast. They talk about drones too. Were you guys there when I was talking in one of the podcasts? I don't know if either one of you guys were, about how.
When we were talking with Jay-Z, we were talking about drones a little bit. That might have been it. How the drones, all these big time hunters. What's $15,000 for a drone to find your buck, and use a thermal drone to find your buck? I don't think we talked about
every day before you go hunting.
I don't think we talked about the drone experience that Caleb had.
No, I just saw the little bit of video in one of the.
So this drone went up.
Found every buck that I've had on camera for the last 2 years in 20 minutes.
Alive.
Run around chasing does. One was laying on a ridge, behind our, in between our houses. One was out in the field.
So that
found them all.
It kind of opened our eyes how easy that is. So
you're telling me the pros aren't running drones? It was with it's the Justin Czar podcast. Our last one down here.
God.
Everyone that has a space in the outdoor industry is going to be lying to you if they're not running drones to find their deer before they hunt. Because it's not illegal to fly the drone, find your deer, land the drone, and go hunting. It's not illegal in Ohio.
And everybody takes
nothing
shortcuts.
Is. Nothing's
obviously everybody
Ohio's
takes
the Wild West of just white-tailed deer. It's so silly.
I want to kind of be on the forefront of opening people's eyes to how much this is probably happening. I'm telling you, this
Yeah.
drone operator who has never been here, didn't know anything about our deer, found every shooter buck in 20 fucking minutes.
Within a mile's radius. of
Yeah,
our
you
house.
just fly up in the air, heat signature, zoom down on the camera. Yep, that's a 10-point wider in the ears. Drive over here. Yep, that's 2. Up, you fly over here. Up. 20 minutes, you've already found them all. Exactly where they're laying, what bed they're in, what field they're eating. I mean, there is no
insanity.
effort. It is effortless.
It is insanity. And when it comes to this, I mean, I'm pretty much on board with outlawing them completely for hunting.
Yeah,
if you fly that drone, you are not allowed to hunt on that property.
Hunting.
Yeah, I mean,
You are not allowed to hunt on that property
we
for
don't
I
It's
don't know.
already illegal in Iowa.
We don't have a thermal
Yeah,
drone.
It's already illegal.
Well, it always was, and they're trying to reverse it now. Because I know the deer drone hunter guy, the big YouTube guy, he's like lobbying with these states to make it legal to track deer and blah,
So
blah, blah.
I don't have a problem with a license, someone that passes a course and a certification and has a company bonded, blah, blah, blah. I don't have a problem with them helping hunters find dead deer. I have no problem with that.
I think that's the slippery slope. That's not where it's going to end.
But you're right, because the average Joe, as these things become cheaper, the average Joe can just
because
buy one.
how hard is it? How are you going to prove that that's what you're doing and not scouting?
Well, I mean, there has
you're
to be
allowed.
They're
You're
allowed
allowed
to use it. Right.
Let's say you're saying it's only legal to find a deer, and it's November 10th, and I'm like, man, I haven't seen this deer.
Let's go find him.
Let's go find him.
We did. I found him.
and then you get caught, and you go, oh, I shot a deer, and I was just looking for him.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly,
So like there's no way to differentiate whether you're scouting or trying to find a dead deer.
Yeah, if it was up to me, that drone flies, you can't hunt that property for 48 hours, week, whatever number you want to put
How
on it.
different is it than going to Alaska and you're not allowed to hunt the day you land because of that? Because
Right.
as you fly in, you see so many animals and you use that to your advantage. It's that, but like in a much more mobile way.
Yeah, it just opened our eyes how easy it is. This is something you can order on Amazon. It can be at your doorstep tomorrow. You can go fly it and find your buck and hunt it. If he's sitting in that thicket this winter,
Make hunting hard again.
I can go.
Make hunting hard again.
Yeah,
we're not.
That's my kid's gonna be
Hunt quietly.
Make hunting hard again.
So
All right, yeah, we gotta finish this up because I gotta be in tree stand in 11 minutes.
yeah, so that is going to be a topic we're going to talk about a lot. And I'd love to get these drone guys on and talk.
I do. He said he'd come on. The local one said he'd come on. I'll try for the big one, deer drone recovery. I'll try to get him on. I don't know.
at least one of his guys. 'cause
And
he's got
in
guys
the
all
off
over.
season, I'm sure he'll have some time to be able to do one.
And
I want to get the dog guys on too and do the mixture of like, because I love the cultural aspect of finding a dead deer with your dog, but it is more invasive and probably less successful than the drone. To be
So
honest with you.
the last thing before we wrap this up, I know a lot of these drone guys, they advertise like the herd. They like the herd management. That's kind of how they started before.
Well, they're starting to use this is something they've added to make their business model where you count how many deer are on your
so I
property.
thought they flew up. Oh, we counted 30 deer on that property. Blah blah blah. No, they can fly up and see. Oh, you have a 180-inch buck in there. Oh, you have 120-inch buck.
Yeah.
I thought it was like, oh, we're counting bodies. All right, you got 20 deer on this 100 acres. Blah blah blah. Oh no, they can get them. They can get a high def picture and count the inches of these deer. It's incredible. There's something wrong with it. That's all I'm going to say. There's something wrong with
I
it.
kind of
Hunting's
wish we would have had this part of the podcast at the beginning and just talked about it.
and if you're
Because this is so much better than we're going to eat natural brose and I'm walking around the field with a corn pile.
but
hole in my
if you're
corn bag.
using these drones nefariously, shame on you.
yeah,
basically.
shame
on
you.
you.
Fuck you. I'll
Yeah,
say that. Like
agree.
it's not good.
No, it's not good.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, we'll talk about this more in the future.
Yeah,
we
we'll talk
just-
about it Friday. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow on the podcast.
Yeah, and when you guys get all liquored up Friday night.
Oh man, it's gonna be great. Ryan and Nick are gonna fight tomorrow. I don't know if it'll be the next episode, so 25, or if it'll be a bonus episode if I kill that buck tonight. But the next one we record is gonna be fun because they'll be yelling. Dylan's gonna be there too. There's gonna be yelling. There's gonna be a lot of
maybe
fuck
punching,
yous, a lot of drunk. I mean, it's gonna be fun. It'll be fun. Ryan opened his mouth at the beginning of this year, and Nick closed it.
Yeah, we could
couple
tell this
weeks
was
ago.
a Pepsi podcast because we didn't start swearing until the last hour.
Yeah, no alcohol. We're all going hunting. It was a sober podcast.
All right, cool. Deer Shot Podcast. We are out.
Out.
Thanks.